Hello and welcome to our reading for the week of July the 30th through the 5th of August. My name is Breege Burke and I am going to do my usual reading. If you're not familiar with the way I do readings on this channel, I use cartouche cards, which as you can see have Egyptian symbolism. I use tarot, and usually I will pull from I will pick an oracle deck and I will read something from an oracle deck. This week we are going to work with the Gateway Oracle. And so I usually just do an extra card pull at the end, kind of one for luck, if you will. So let's look at what the influences are this week. Astrologically, this week is probably a little calmer than last week. We do have a full moon coming up on Tuesday, August 1st. We have a supermoon, as a matter of fact, which can bring about very high emotions. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Get my cards out here. Yeah, there's so usually, supermoons are very, very emotionally charged. So be aware of that. Exactly a week actually from the supermoon, we will have the Lionsgate, the 8/8 Lionsgate portal, which, again, those are not always dates that I personally will pay attention to, but at least in my life, the 8/8 portal always seems to represent something big. Always happens. So, and just, see what those energies have in store for me this year. The month of August tends to be sent, there's a lot of energy around the card. I'm saying the card, there is a card in cartouche by this name, but there's a lot of energy having to do with Sirius, the dog star. Okay, this is oftentimes why August, you often hear the reference to the dog days of August, that is connected to the influence of Sirius. It certainly was in ancient Egypt, and the Lion's Gate is very much connected to Syrian energies. So that is something else to think about this month. Okay, so I'm going to do my tarot cards. I lay out in an astrological spread. I will lay out my cartouche cards, and now I'm going to lay out my tarot cards. Now the tarot cards I'm using this week are a little bit different in terms of their inflection. This is what they call the Osho Zen Tarot, and this deck is. It's a traditional tarot deck. I mean, all of the traditional cards and suits are there, but the explanations of the cards are a little bit different. The inflection's a little bit different because this is focused a little bit more psychologically rather than so much about specific events that go on. I find this is a very useful card when people come to me and they want to have readings that are of a nature that is a little more psychological, more about mental stress, more about making decisions, about being in the gap. I find this deck to be extremely useful for that. And by the way, if you would like to book a reading with me, please check the description below. I have a link to my link tree, but you may also check out my site, which is liminalreiki.com. I do offer tarot readings on that site, both 30-minute and 1 hour. And I also, at that site, I also offer coaching. The actual name of the site now is Transition Life Coaching. And if you'll watch my work on Instagram, you'll actually, I go into a little bit more detail about what Transition Life Coaching is. So if you're interested in knowing anything about that, check the links below in the description and like and subscribe because that always helps me in the YouTube algorithm. Okay, that out of the way, let's begin. Okay, so our first card, we're dealing with the first house. We're dealing with astrological houses. This is the area dealing with Aries, and Aries energy is the self. It's usually described as the I am card. This is about how you present yourself to your world, your identity, how people see you, the face that you put on, your persona, and how. Your personal brand or persona, and how that how you may be feeling about that, and how you may be wanting to put that out to the world. Okay, so our first card here is Anubis. This is a card of protection. Okay, Anubis is the guide through the underworld, and when Anubis shows up in this particular position, there's a couple of possibilities. The first is that this is about if you If you have been experiencing something and you're not, you've been experiencing self-doubt where you think you might be, delusional about something, or just doubt that maybe you're seeing something correctly, the Anubis card basically says you're not delusional. Okay, so if that applies to anybody here, yeah, you're not delusional. The second aspect of Anubis, though, is one of protection. So you may be feeling vulnerable at this time, and you may want to kind of crawl back into your shell a little bit and protect your energy, because Anubis is definitely about protecting yourself. But generally, the advice that comes along with Anubis is, have a sense of humor, go with the flow, like don't take life too seriously. We can get very, very caught up in some of our own personal dramas and the dramas of other people, and then we just kind of lose sight of who we are, and we start feeling like we have to shut people out because we start to feel like we're going to be hurt or we're vulnerable. This card more more or less indicates that you're not, it's okay to be out there. If you feel hurt or slighted or offended, best to look at it and take it with a sense of humor rather than to allow to get upset about it. You have it with the experiencing card, and this is the Three of Wands in this deck. Now, Three of Wands is usually a card that has to do with the Three of Wands. We are waiting for something. There's something that's coming to us. But in this deck, it's referred to as the card of experiencing. And what you see here is this image of a woman who is hugging a tree. So there's this idea of, Three of Wands energy is the one after Two of Wands. And the Two of Wands is the person standing there trying to make a decision about their possibilities, about where they're going to go next. This is the card about, okay, now you actually are going to move, into the experience, toward the experience. Your ship is going to come in, so to speak. So in terms of the first house, I would say that this means allow yourself to get out. Even though you may be tempted to hide yourself, get out there more. Okay, get out there more, experience things, not just experience being with people, but experience nature. Now, the house that is opposite to the first house is the seventh house, which is the house of Libra. It's the house of relationship. And I usually do these in order, but I'm just looking at the cards that appear here in the seventh house. And I feel like there's a cross application here. So we have the Nephthys card here. So in the house of relationship, this means those of you, okay, if you're in a relationship or you're somebody maybe who's not in a relationship and is wondering, when's my next relationship going to come up? This would be a card that would indicate that, and again, if that is your specific inquiry, this doesn't apply to everybody, then that what this would mean is that you, this person has not been revealed yet. You don't know who this person is. It's not necessarily somebody in your current sphere of influence. Sometimes it could just indicate something that's not going to happen yet, but Nephthys typically indicates we don't have all the information yet. If you're not somebody who's looking for a relationship, then Nephthys would indicate something is obscured with regard to personal relationships. Either there is going to be an important relationship that has not come into view yet, or it just means you are, there may be something. Nephthys tends to put a cloud over things. And interestingly, you have it with the Seven of Cups, which again is traditionally the card of confusion and projection and sometimes delusion. They call this the card of projection in this deck. And I thought that was interesting because in connection to the first house, what this says to me is that you may be projecting onto other people, like things that you that you have your relationship with people, you may be blaming a lot of other people for things that you're feeling. Okay, projection is often when other people almost, you see here that people are almost acting as a mirror to each other. Okay, what they're seeing is a mirror image. They're not seeing when you look at somebody else and say, that person is the cause of my problem, who you're really looking at is yourself. So projection is about the ways in which we need to take responsibility for our own feelings rather than projecting them out onto other people. And this may be part of the reason that we feel we need to be protected. But it may be saying no one's out to get you, this is coming from inside. So this may be something where you want to self-reflect, and if somebody is pushing your buttons, you may want to say, well, why exactly are they pushing my buttons? That's really the question you want to ask there, okay? So a little bit obscured on the relationship area. And this, by the way, is not only a house that just has to do with, marriages and things like that. It also is a house that can deal with business partnerships and other very significant relationships. So, so just there could be some uncertainty about that this week. Probably the best thing to do is to just kind of leave it until a better time. Perhaps next week the cards there will look better. Okay, our second house is our house of money and finance, what you value. And we are in Venus retrograde, don't forget. Interestingly, though, we have the winged disc here. So this is good. This would indicate overcoming money difficulties, succeeding or just being successful financially. But we have it here with the trust card, which is, I want to say that's the Page of Cups. And the trust card is, this is this person taking the leap into the sky. Basically, one of the hardest things when it comes to finances that, a lot of our life trauma is centered around either our fear of isolation, of being rejected by other people or cut off from other people. The other big fear that we have in life has to do with security. Am I going to have enough money? Am I going to have a roof over my head? Am I going to be comfortable, have the things that I want? Our personal security and our personal sense of being connected to others are the two big things that people always worry about. And so that's why it's always interesting when people come in for tarot readings and they're like, I want to know about love and I want to know about career. Well, think about it. Both of those things are center around those things. What's going to be happening with me in that arena? So this is telling you to trust. For some of you, those of you who are probably air signs, maybe even the water signs, that's probably not too hard. If you are an earth sign, and maybe perhaps even a fire sign, it's actually a good card. There's nothing wrong with it. But I'm an earth sign, and I can tell you that earth signs are just kind of like, yeah, okay, trust. You want to know if you're in flux about a job or about some kind of financial thing, you want to know what the answer is. I want to know where that next check is coming from, And sometimes even if you're not an earth sign, you may feel that way. But earth signs in particular, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, you definitely like to know where you stand. You want your feet solidly on the ground. But this is telling you it's time to take a leap of faith. So keep that in mind. Third house has to do with our communication. This is the house of Gemini. That was the house of Taurus. This is the house of Gemini. And yeah, speaking of, here's our isolation card. Here's this fear of very much in tune with this Anubis in the first house. Isolation, feeling that you are cut off. And what you see here is a person who's encased in ice and they are weeping. And what it's saying is that tears are the way out. It doesn't literally mean, for some of you, maybe it literally means having a good cry. But this is like, in the house of communication, it means feeling isolated from other people, feeling cut off. Okay? So probably part of the reason you are being told, get out there. Don't isolate yourself. Okay? Especially if you are in business. This is a house of business as well. So the isolation card here would have to do with business. You need to get out there. If you want to be successful in your business, you need to network. You need to do things on social media. You need to, whatever it is, you need to be out there and you need to be showing people who you are. Okay. Don't isolate yourself. And if you are feeling emotionally cut off in some way, sometimes literally just an expression of your emotion, your ability to get it out or to communicate it to somebody, whether it be a close friend, whether it be a therapist, whether it be your spouse, whoever it is, there's definitely a sense of, you want to, this is a sign that one can break out of isolation. It is the Three of Swords in the traditional deck. Now you have this with Ta. Ta is the card, this is the card of Capricorn, and it is a card of, as implied by the Masonic tools here, that this is the card of building something. It can literally be building something with your hands. So this could literally be, people in the construction business and things like that, I suppose, or people who in businesses where they are making things. But more generally speaking, this card is that you are in the process of building something. So if you're feeling cut off in either, like I said, either your communications or in some kind of business venture, if that applies to you. Just understand that you are still building a foundation. You are building something. This may come up in the sense that you may feel that you may be impatient to be someplace that you're not yet. You haven't gotten to that stage. So, but you are still constructing something solid. So Capricorn energy is always about putting the work in, persevering. So in other words, don't give up. Don't give up and don't isolate yourself. Okay. Fourth house. Now this is the house of your security, your home. This is the area of Cancer, astrologically. And okay, so here we have our friend Seth again, our bringer of storms. So this indicates this could either be an actual upset regarding your house. Okay, there could be a domestic problem, with your house, or there could be a delay surrounding something that you're doing with your house. Or this card could sometimes it doesn't have to do with your physical home. Sometimes it has to do with your psyche as your home. Like again, back to your sense of security, as we were talking about. Cancer is more about what's felt. So it's about, wanting to be more of that motherly energy, wanting to be at home, wanting to feel nurtured, wanting to feel cared for. So there's an upset here. There's a sense of feeling insecure. Again, you feel like there's that self-doubt that might be coming in and so forth. Your sense of, what it's saying here is that your sense of personal security is what's been rattled. And yeah, when I look at this in the seventh house, you may be tempted to say it's because of, person X. It's this other person. But it's not that other person. It's just you are feeling unstable. You are feeling unrooted. Okay. When we think about this house as the root, we think of the root chakra, which is the pelvic area, below the sacrum, on the level of the sexual organs, is considered to be what they call the root, or the Muladhara chakra. And so this is elements that are, your root is being shaken. And that's not really surprising, because one of the cards I've seen a lot recently is the Tower. And the Tower indicates that false structures are being pulled down so that new correct ones can be built. Okay, so there's maybe this rebuilding process, but you may be feeling worried about that. With Bast is the happiness card. Bast is the card of celebration. I mean, the image, it's got the little cat on top, because Bast is the cat goddess. But the sistrum is a musical instrument. It's something you shake, and it implies something celebratory, music, dancing. So this is literally about, you need to stop worrying about security and take some time to play, to enjoy yourself. Don't worry that you're going to have lack. Don't think you're not going to have enough. I mean, this is definitely a card of, of things that are, you may be in a position where you can't see the future yet, and that may be making you feel insecure. But Bast would indicate follow your intuition. This is a place where intuition is going to give you more information rather than trying to, look at your 5-year plan or something. This is probably not the time to do it. Neptune is still in Pisces, so there's actually a lot of lack of clarity about things, and the only way to navigate a space like this is just to simply let yourself go with what's going on. Follow your intuition, listen to your inner voice. The card that we have with it is the Eight of Pentacles, or ordinariness is the way it's translated in this deck. And we just see a woman who is, she's got her basket. It's like she's gone out to pick some fruit or something. And and so in the Eight of Pentacles is usually a card of resourcefulness. And you'll usually, in the traditional decks, you'll see, somebody like sitting there working, hammering the pentacle. Yeah, this is about the way to feel connected, the way to feel secure, is to simply be ordinary. There's no reason right now that you have to, be out there, what's the right phrase I'm looking for here? You don't have to necessarily be out there and like everybody has to be staring at you and you have to be, making this big splash. Right now, it's perfectly fine to just focus on, on getting your house in order, maybe getting your finances in order, maybe just working on something that's just very, very ordinary. Not trying to do anything extraordinary, not trying to be some super person, just be grounded, who you are, where you are. This is definitely a card of grounding, okay? Your 5th house has to do with Leo energy, and this has to do with your leisure time. If you have children, this would apply potentially to them. And the 5th house has to do with with creative projects as well. So yeah, again, very close to this, we've got Osiris. Okay, this is Sagittarius energy. And so, when you have Sag here in the 5th house, I mean, yeah, that adds fire to fire. Okay. And in fact, we have the 5 of fire, or the 5 of, I think that's don't know if they actually use the term fire in this one, but I think they do. So we've got triple fire here in Leo. Okay. So in this 5th house. So this is definitely a time for working on projects. This is definitely a time that if you have something you wanted to work on, like, this is time to do it. This may, or this may apply to your children if you have children. This may be a time where, you want to act, you don't want to sit still. Now, the 5 of Wands traditionally is a card of, it's card of conflict, usually of competition. But in this deck, it's shown as totality. And you have the trapeze artists, the way in which, the way that they're doing their act is one has to grab the hands of the others and they're hanging from the trapeze, okay? And so this requires focus. This requires total attention. This is your focus. So when this card comes up, I feel like, along with the ordinariness here, it's just kind of like, sit down, get grounded, focus on what you're doing, focus on your projects, focus on what you're creating here. Or again, for some of you, it may also be focus on your children right now, or what your children are doing. Maybe people are getting ready to go back to school, or, whatever. There's definitely this element of dealing with children. So, but again, for those of you where children are not a factor, this is just literally about, you have some kind of a project or something, put yourself into it. Put yourself into it totally. And with all this fire in the leisure house, again, kind of like we had Bast here, take some time out to enjoy yourself as well. You should be enjoying yourself as you're doing your work. Your work should not be all drudgery. Your creative projects especially shouldn't be drudgery, because they should be something you feel inspired to do, something that makes you feel alive. So, if something's turning into a chore, you might want to look at how you're doing that and how you're approaching that. Okay. 6th house is the house of Virgo. This is the house of our health, and it's also the house of worry and service to others. Also the house of pets, domestic pets. So we have Isis here. Now, Isis is the mother card. It's one of the 2 mother cards. The other one, just like in tarot, it's probably comparable to the High Priestess, which is not generally considered a mother card. It's one that's more independent. But this Isis is, a mother goddess, certainly in the Egyptian system. So this Isis is, has to do with a lot of the things of the High Priestess, has to do with that, that energy of, intuition, having that kind of innate knowing of things, or being able to see through situations. But it is also about nurturing and care, not only of others, okay, because this is your house of service, but yourself. So those of you who are mothers, there may be there may be some focus. For some people, it may literally be some worry or concern about your mother that is showing up here. But we have it with the existence card, which is the equivalent of the magician in this deck. And what you see is this woman sitting on some kind of a flower. And, I don't know that it's actually meant to be a lotus, even though a lot of times that's what it is. But the woman is kind of like the flower, and she's looking at the stars. And the way this card is translated in this deck is, if you feel like the world is out to get you, go out and take a look at the stars. In other words, existence is just about, being confident where you are, knowing that you can manifest what you want, because again, this is magician energy, so this is about manifesting. But also, again, go out and take a look at the stars. Recognize that you are a small piece in a big system. And, and don't allow yourself to keep the whole world on your shoulders. Just, the world's not out to get you. You may be feeling put off by people. Certainly with where Pluto has been, hovering around Aquarius, I find that a lot of people have been dealing with issues of friendships or other kinds of close relationships like that, where people in their network suddenly prove to be untrustworthy, or suddenly something happens and they feel, now they feel like, oh my God, I trusted this person for years and now I feel like I can't. This is kind of indicating to you that even if something like that has happened to you, that doesn't mean the whole world is out to get you. Okay. So definitely something with that. Now, for some people, this is also a house that relates to the job. So again, this may be saying that if you have been working very, very hard, maybe what you need is take to some time out for some self-care, and just focus on, not letting the issues that come up with that kind of work dominate you, because there are bigger things. There's more to life than that. Okay, so I did the 7th house already. I'm going to skip over to the 8th, which is the house of Scorpio. And this is the house of transformation, sex, death, the occult, other people's money. I think that covers all of the main things of this house. And we have air. Okay, so air is about, when air shows up in the 8th house, this can often indicate a message. Usually it's either a message from spirit, if that's something that you like. If you follow spirit guides, and even maybe if you don't, it's like somebody in the universe somewhere is trying to get a message to you. Okay, so this is, sometimes this comes up when you look in your environment, you look for synchronicities, look for things that kind of repeat. Oh, I just looked at this, and now I just saw this thing on television, and now I'm somehow seeing it everywhere outside as I'm driving or whatever. And then you kind of go, well, that's weird. How come I keep seeing that? Well, there's probably a message there. Okay, that's what they call synchronicity. There's probably a message. So, I mean, and aside from the idea of a message, air would indicate a time of very, very rapid change. Okay, so it's almost like in the house of transformation, it's kind of like hold on to your hat. There's going to be some big change coming in. And we have it with the rebirth card, which is the 10 of Swords in this deck. And this is actually the Nietzschean story about, the person who starts as a camel, becomes a lion, and then becomes a child. So the camel is very docile and complacent, then then becomes the lion and breaks out into a roar, maybe very angry, maybe more active, more aggressive. And then of course it becomes the child. So you're almost returning then to the stage of kind of innocence. So that's the image on this card. And what the 10 of Swords is, it means something is coming to an end. It's coming to a sudden end, and it's done. So in the house of transformation, it is assuring you that something is done. And once you accept that it's done, things are going to start to move very quickly. And there should be messages, if you pay attention, coming in to show you what the next steps are going to be. Okay, your 9th house, which is Sagittarius energy. Sagittarius, the 9th house is the house of higher education. It's the house of long distance travel, and also of like faith in the sense of religion, philosophy, or beliefs about life. And yeah, we're seeing a change here. Scarab indicates a new beginning. Again, for some people, this could literally mean I'm going to a new school, or I'm going away to university for the first time. There's some newness here with regard to these matters, but this can also be a new way of life, a new philosophy of life, a new way of looking at something, a new perspective, that will bring a change. And also it's possible for some of you that the change may come as a result of a journey. You may go on a long journey somewhere, and this may change things for you. So those are all possible. Again, we're doing a general reading, so take what resonates and don't take what doesn't. Then we have so now we have the aloneness card. We have the Hermit. And that's showing up in this house. So to me, that suggests that what this house seems to be mainly talking about is a new perspective, because aloneness is about, well, first of all, it's about being alone and not lonely, okay? It stands literally in opposition to the isolation card. Isolation says, I am lonely. Aloneness says, I am happy being by myself. Okay, so there's that aspect. That's interesting that's showing up in the communication house. You can be alone. You don't necessarily, and to me, that's almost the element of I don't need everybody's seal of approval. If I put something out there and, I don't get as many, likes on Instagram as the other guy, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong or that somehow you're less likable or whatever. You need to be able to function in the world independently. Because you have to be secure in yourself before you can have a relationship with anybody else. Okay, so the aloneness is part of that. But as the Hermit, it also means it's a time for introspection and looking inward. Okay, so yeah, this may well be about recent events that you're integrating into your life may give you a new point of view, a new way of looking at life. Maybe some of you will convert to a new religion. Who knows? But there's definitely this idea, or stop practicing religion. There's going to be some change of thinking potentially that falls in that area. Something that's going to, give you a whole new perspective on life. Okay, 10th house is Capricorn, and this is our house of our career, our reputation, and our status. This is also the house of the father. Sometimes the 9th house is also considered house of the father, but typically speaking, this is like the Saturn energy. Saturn is the wise old man. Okay, and so we have Buckle of Isis here. So Buckle of Isis says, yeah, the steps we take now, to the sacrifices that we make, the hard work that we put into our business, and Capricorn loves hard work, and we saw the hard work down here too, that the more you put that effort you put in, the greater the reward's going to be. Buckle of Isis is about gaining a reward, but something has to be done first. It's not just something that comes out and is handed to you. And this requires, interestingly, it just seems to fall along with this, the participation card, which is the 4 of Wands. And in this deck, the participation means get out there and participate. It's the same thing we're seeing here, experiencing. Isolation, don't make yourself isolated. Communicate with others, okay? It's okay to be alone. If you're somebody who's alone, there's nothing wrong with aloneness. Learning how to be alone is a skill, okay? But that doesn't mean don't communicate with people necessarily, okay? You may take some time for introspection, but in terms of your career and your status, you want to be out there. You want to be seen. Don't hide yourself. Don't hide your light under a bushel, as they would say. You want to, the way to success for you is to be out there with people participating, not withdrawing. Okay, our 11th house, which is our house of friendship, networks, and our goals. And this is a house of Aquarius and Aquarian energy. And yeah, okay, we've got fire. So I feel like for some of you, this is going to still be the cleaning up and clearing out of people and situations, and, belonging to, groups that perhaps are not serving you, or perhaps are holding you back, not letting you move forward. So this is about burning up the rubbish, as they say. And, but this also can indicate something that's inspirational. There may be a particular friendship that you have, or perhaps there'll be a new friendship that inspires you. Because fire is both inspiration and it's purification, okay? So it can go either way. Sometimes it may be doing both. You may be getting people out of your life, and because when you do that, when you get things out of your life that you don't need anymore, it leaves space for the new to come in. So that is what we see potentially here. And again, this is the 10 of Pentacles. We are the world. There's a whole lot here about participating. A lot of these messages are about, not feeling like you are a victim of something, not feeling like, not focusing on maybe other hurts or what you perceive of as hurts from other people. This is about getting out there and about sharing and about being with people and being in a community, okay? 10 of Pentacles, of course, is also a very good financial omen as well. And 10 of Pentacles sometimes has to do with legacies and things like that. But this card here in this particular deck, the inflection is that, yeah, you are, you're not alone, first of all, okay? You have friends, you're not alone. But and again, we should be spending time with those friends. We don't want to live our lives away from everybody. You want to be connecting with your networks. Finally, we have the 12th house, which is the house of Pisces. And this, of course, is that house of the mad person and the saint all at the same time. It's a house of fear, of what's unconscious. If the first house represents the face that you show to people, this represents what you don't, okay? Also, in Vedic astrology, this is the house of foreign travel, and I do find that can apply here. Again, won't apply to everybody, but it can. All right, so we have Ankh here. So yeah, Ankh in the 12th house, again, just like you had air in the 8th. I always look at the 8th and the 12th somewhat together. So this is a very powerful omen, very, very strong life force behind something. This could literally mean a love that comes from overseas or from abroad. That is a possibility. But Ankh often just has to do with our passion, the fullness of life, the things that really matter to us. So the fact that it's showing up here, for some people, that might be a fear of death, like maybe a fear of physical death for somebody. And I'm not saying, by the way, that it means there's going to be a death, just that there's a fear of one. There could be fears of people, maybe some people will have had some health scares or something. But again, it's showing up in the house of fear. So to me, what I've typically seen is when it shows up in that house, it's not a real thing. it's more a worry about what might happen rather than what is actually happening. So bear that in mind with the 12th house. But I feel like there's a strong push here towards you living your life to the fullest. Like it's coming out of the unconscious. A lot of things that are happening now are kind of trying to rearrange things and saying, hey, get rid of this crap that doesn't work, and get out there and connect with people and celebrate, because you are a great person and you have a lot to celebrate. You have certain talents and things that you want to put out there. And yeah, you have it with the abundance card. And the Osho, then whoever wrote that book, they basically refer to this as the Zorba the Buddha card, because you have the guy who's sitting there looking kind of like a Buddha, but he's also he's also enjoying the material world. So it's somebody who is spiritually enlightened, but also is able to and this actually is the King of Pentacles in this particular deck. So for some of you, that could be that concern about finances that are there unconsciously. Again, a fear, not, there's things you can do about it. It's like, nope, get out there, put the work in, do it, connect with people. Don't hide in isolation, because, especially if you're running a business, you can't run a business in isolation. So this little Zorba the Buddha, King of Pentacles card is basically saying, unconsciously there's a lot of abundance there. So you don't want to have a fear of abundance. There are people who have, especially the fact that we're seeing a problem in the root here, that can mean that you have an abundance problem. You may be somebody who thinks for whatever reason you're not worthy of it, or you're not going to get it, or you're, like having a poverty mentality. And this is saying no. This house is almost like overflowing with like riches and passion and all of the things that make your life full. So don't. Like, again, these things are hidden right now. Don't bring them out. Don't hide them. Okay, our overall card for today I always do a center card just to kind of sum the reading up. We have the twins. Yeah. What do we just say? Being with people, being with friends, being with those who are supportive of us, whether that be our friends, our family, whoever it is. You wanna be with people. You can come out into the sunlight, as it were. And yeah. And with the miser card, the four pentacles, this is a woman who is built her like a brick wall around herself with all of her stuff. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be about being a literal miser in the sense of hoarding your wealth. But if you're worried about money, you might be doing that. You might be like, oh, I can't spend anything right now. This card is basically saying it's also about your feelings. Don't be a miser. Don't hold your gifts away from other people. Okay? Because this is often a card, again, that comes up. It's funny it's coming up right over this, because it's often a card that comes up when we feel insecure and we feel like we've just got to stabilize the familiar environment that we're in. And it's just saying, no, that's not the way to go. You need to have trust. You need to break out and do what it is you need to do. So that's our reading for today. I'm going to pull just give these a couple shuffles. I'm going to pull a card from the Gateway Oracle by Denise Lynn. This is a Hay House deck, and I picked it up when I was living in Plymouth, in England. There's a little store right downtown. I want to say it's on Cornwall Street. There was a crystal shop that sold these, and nice little place. If you're in Plymouth, definitely check it out. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's the only store of its kind in that section of Plymouth. So, and this is Plymouth, UK, by the way, not Plymouth, Massachusetts. So let's see. All right. Yeah. Our card for today is opening to love. So the message for today is, this is the heart that's on fire. Open yourself up. Don't do this. Open yourself up. And so to me, this is about being vulnerable. This is about allowing yourself, we worry that people are going to hurt us. And if we've been hurt recently, it may be kind of a fresh wound, but be aware that now is a time when people are going to be supportive of you. You don't, and particularly the astrology today, actually, I saw was, your friends may think you're neglecting them, but, you're really not. Take time to connect. So that seems to be the thing this week. Good news is, the things that you're worried about, the things you feel you need to protect yourself from, are probably more your projections than the reality. And there's a whole lot of abundance waiting. You just need to clear away those old attitudes, and the new will come flowing in. Thanks for watching this week. See you next week.